So Jay Baba, everyone, welcome.
Hey, Baba.
I'm so delighted that we are going to be spending the hour on my very favorite poet and Baba's favorite poet, Hafez. And Fereshteh Azad is here to share her stunning translations of Hafez. We've been so fortunate to be hearing them this past year and a half while we've been doing this poetry series, Quiet Amidst the Storm. And, there are several good translations of Hafez out there, but to find one that's really fantastic, I think is a real treasure. And so Fereshteh, I just want to say a few words about her, and then we're going to talk just for a few minutes about, the history of Hafez, and then we're going to hand it over to Fereshteh. But Fereshteh came here when she was 17 years old. We won't say how many years ago that was, from northern Iran.
Just a couple.
Her original mother tongue was Turkish, which was spoken in that area. And very early, I believe you said first grade, you were learning French. And then you learned Farsi, which is really considered the main language for Iran, and of course is considered Persian, and is the language that Hafez wrote in. So
isn't it called Farsi?
Yes.
Farsi, what did I say?
Not Persian.
Persian or Farsi equivalent.
Oh, okay. Both are okay.
There's some you can use them interchangeably. Yeah. So Fereshteh began translating when she came to Baba 20 years ago, and I hope you will tell us that story near the end of the hour. We're going to leave about 10 minutes for questions and answers, and so Fereshteh, I hope you will tell us that story about how you were inspired to do this work. I know so many Baba lovers have been really inspired to look more deeply into poetry, and I think that's such a blessing for everyone. I discovered Hafez when Daniel Ladinsky was doing his translations and came into Asheville, and I did not even know there was such a thing as Sufi poetry, which now we know there's a genre of poetry, called Sufi poetry. Several fantastic poets fall into that category. But in Hafez's lifetime, he was really recognized internationally as being a real master poet. And all of his poetry was written to his master, to his Sufi teacher, Attar, which would have been in the tradition of Sufism to dedicate one's poetry to one's master. It's believed that there were over 5,000 poems written, and most of those have been lost. There are about 500 today that are intact. Because Hafez was Sufi, he was often fell out of favor of the ruling class, who were sometimes fundamentalists. And when fundamentalists take over any area of the Middle East, Sufis are often in danger. And so Hafez was actually run out of town twice, and is believed that he had to live in the woods for a certain period of time, even though he was so renowned. He had to leave the college at a certain point in time because he upset people. And that's sort of the nature of Sufism, to not follow rules, but to really, go for the heart rather than the head. So it's one of the reasons I love Sufi poetry so much. And so my favorite story about Hafez is that, and it's a very famous story that I'm sure many of you have heard, but just to share it again, is that Hafez was poor and not handsome. And when he was very young, he fell in love with the daughter of a client, and went into a 40-day fasting period to ask at the end of the 40 days if he was able to succeed at that fast, which most people are not able to do because it's so rigorous, to ask God if he could have the love of this girl that he had seen on the terrace where he dropped off some meat for the butcher that he worked for. And so he succeeded. And at the end of the 40 days, the angel Gabriel came to Hafez and said, "We are here to grant your wish." And Hafez was so moved and so touched by the brilliance and the radiance of this angel that he realized in that moment that he did not want the love of this beautiful girl. He wanted the love of God. And that is what he asked for. And it was said to him, this will be granted. So we're so happy that Hafez turned his attention towards the divine, because they are clearly the inspiration for this work, which we're so fortunate to have. So lots more Hafez stories, but I'm so happy to hear your takes on all this. Fereshteh, that I'm gonna pass it over to you.
Thank you, Tracy. Jai Baba, everyone. Yeah, Hafez, in a way, was one of the primary reasons that Baba came to fish me out. I had kind of grown restless with my my time with Yogananda, and I was a little bit unconsciously, I realize now, unconsciously kind of resisting the whole churchy-like setup that they had, and the separation of the clergy, the monks and the nuns from the devotees. And it seemed like there was just this false barrier. And I had started longing for finding people that loved God in reckless abandon, without any any yous and eyes, and kind of my answered prayers were seeing the mandali, how down to earth they were. So I started longing for my roots. I was in Arizona at the time and wanted to really reconnect with what my culture was, because I grew up in Iran. I studied Hafez and Rumi and Sadi and all the poets. In high school, we had to memorize them and interpret them, but really there was no depth of understanding at that young age. So I wanted to get back in touch with that, and through a friend of mine, I got to meet my Baba contacts. And the woman had written some poetry, and I asked her who these poems was about. Was she having an affair? Writing these beautiful love poems. And then she talked to me about Meher Baba, and her husband told me all about his coming to Baba, which really was the instigation for me finding out that Baba loved Hafez. And I started looking into Hafez, and I ran into Ladinsky's poetry, and I was so excited that I had found an English Baba lover who translated Hafez. So I started communicating with him, and corresponded with him via email, asking him, well, please tell me which poem, I have your book and I'm reading this poem. Tell me which ghazal it is so I can go and read it in Farsi. And that's how we ended up back and forth, realizing that his was really renderings. He doesn't speak Farsi. He uses English translations of others, and then renders from inspiration he might have of a line of Hafez or a word or an idea. And he writes beautiful poetry, but it's definitely not a translation by any means. Recently, a friend of mine was here also from Washington, D.C., and she's Persian, totally into Rumi. She says she was in one of the sessions where Ladinsky was reciting his poetry, and people were laughing. And she's like looking around saying, why are they laughing? Hafez is not funny. So anyway. I have prepared 5 of them that I've selected from the many I've translated. I've been translating, like Tracey mentioned, for about 20 years on and off, mostly off. But the times that I'm on, I get on fire and I translate quite a few all at once. And then I have to set it aside and do something else. So recently with COVID lockdowns, I was able to do quite a bit more. And Jeff's encouragement, of course, Jeff Warburton, and the late night chats were a real encouragement. So I've got 5 of them ready to read for you guys. And then if there's time, I can read more. And we'll leave some time for Q&A at the end also. I also had pulled out all the references that Meher Baba had for Hafez, and there's about 169 references in Lord Meher about Hafez and what Baba said about Hafez, and quoted his ghazals very much. And Baba said about his ghazals that they're mostly about the inner journey, the evolutionary journey of the path. So, all right. This is ghazal number 1. And I should also mention that I translate from a book called the Qudsi version, which we found out through my work with Ward Parks, comparing what Baba quoted most often, almost 90% of the time, if not 99% of the time, Baba quoted from this version. And oftentimes, Tracey mentioned there's 500 left. Actually, in Qudsi, there's 600 poems. And I've studying these poems for some time now, realizing that many of the poems were eliminated because they were controversial to the Islamic way of looking at things. And the order of lines have been changed, words have been changed, you know, that really kind of makes a big difference in the meaning of the entire ghazal. So I stick with Qudsi, and I think it's probably one of the most authentic, close to original that one can find. With that, ghazal number 1, and Baba quoted from this one too, you'll recognize that line. Come, O Saki, pour wine into the cups and distribute. At first, love seemed easy, but many hardships followed. In the hopes the morning breeze would unleash the scent of musk from the knots in his hair, what pain befell the hearts from the mere sight of those perfumed and disheveled locks. If your master orders you, drench your prayer rug in wine. The Salik must know something about the customs and ways of the path. A dark night, fear of the wave, a fierce whirlpool obstructing the way. What do the carefree know of our state while standing safely on the shore? How can I indulge in the enchantments of the house of the friend when the bell on the camel's neck shrieks, urging me to pack up and move on? All my efforts in self-indulgence have ended up in shame. How can a secret remain hidden when brought out into the open in gatherings? O Hafez, if you want your beloved's presence, do not be absent from him. When at last you see your beloved, let go of your hold on the world and on time. Here, the couple of explanations on the meaning of the enchantments of the house of the friend. How can I indulge in the enchantments of the house of the friend, being the enchantments of the path, the lower planes? You know, a lot of the aspirants, Baba explains that as they traverse the journey, they get so caught up in the allure of the different planes that they get stuck. And Baba had to come and push them forward, physically be there and push them forward. And that's the bell on the camel's back the masters called to urge them to pack up and move on. And the line about, well, that's pretty self-evident. Do not be absent from him. Do not ever forget remembering the master. And I guess I can just keep on reading. Tracey, is that what you'd like? Or
would you mind, you don't have to read all of them in Farsi, but could you read several of them in Farsi so we can enjoy the nuance of the language?
Sure, I can do that. Since this one starts with Arabic, I will skip this one and ends in Arabic. Sometimes Hafez did put some Arabic in the mix of his poetry. This is Ghazal number 2. I will read like about maybe 3 lines in Farsi. ای فروغ حسن ماه از روی رخشان شما، آب روی خوبی از چاه زنخدان شما. عزم دیدار تو دارد جان بر لب آمده، باز گردد یا برآید چیست فرمان شما. کی دهد دست این غرض یارب که هم دستان شوند، خاطر مجموع ما زلف پریشان شما. So, O luminous faced, from which the moon takes its light, O dimple cheeked, from which virtue flows, from the intensity of longing to see you, my soul is about to take flight. Should it stay or depart? What is your command? O Lord, when will the aim of my life extend a hand in cooperation, so my longing heart may unite with your disheveled locks? No one was able to abstain from your beauty in your time of glory. It is best if they don't try to sell abstinence to your intoxicated lovers. The heart is less restless, O friends. Please alert the beloved. He is the shelter for my soul and yours. Do not worry, my sleeping luck will awaken once its eyes are washed with the sight of your radiant face. Send a bouquet of flowers along with the breeze, that we may inhale a whiff from the beautiful garden of your presence. Keep your garment free from dirt and blood when you pass me by. There are many who give their lives in sacrifice on this path. O breeze, tell the residents of the city of Yazd about us. May the head of non-believers become the ball to your polo stick. Although we are far from the station of union, we are not lacking in effort. We are the slave of your king and we praise him. May your life be eternal, O Sakis of the royal banquet, even though our cup was not filled during your advent. O auspicious King of Kings, by the will of God, I may kiss the dust of your porch like the sky. Hafez says a prayer, say Amen. May our daily sustenance be the sugar-spewing words of your ruby lips.
Jai Baba.
Hey, Baba.
This may be a selfish request, but I wondered if you could read more than 3 lines in Farsi. It is
In
so
Farsi.
beautiful to hear those in the original. I don't know about anybody else, but I just am intoxicated when I hear that.
All right. This is Ghazal number 20. And this is the Ghazal, very beautiful and poignant Ghazal of Hafez, which we believe he must have uttered it upon his realization. And this particular one is found in Qudsi also, in Qudsi only. It's been removed from the other versions. تعالی الله چه دولت دارم امشب که آمد ناگهان دلدارم امشب چو دیدم روی خوبش سجده کردم به حمدالله نکو کردارم امشب نهال صبرم از وصلش برآورد ز بخت خویش برخوردارم امشب. This is Arabic. برات لیلت القدری به دستم، رسید از طالع بیدارم امشب. بران عزمم که گر خود می رود سر، که سرپوش از طبق بردارم امشب. کشد نقش انالحق بر زمین خون، چو منصور ارکشی بردارم امشب. تو صاحب نعمتی من مستحقم، زکات حسن ده خوش دارم امشب. همی ترسم که حافظ محو گردد، از این شوری که در سر دارم امشب. By the grace of Allah, what fortune I possess tonight, because my beloved suddenly came to me tonight. I prostrated as soon as I saw his beautiful face. Thank God I have good deeds to my credit tonight. The seedling of my patience for union has borne fruit tonight. I have finally received my great fortune tonight. I have won the royal lottery. My awakened destiny has arrived into my hands tonight. With an unstoppable, self-perpetuating determination, I'm taking off the veil of ignorance tonight. Like Mansur's blood that wrote, I am God after his death, I too will do the same if you kill me tonight. I am the deserving one. You have the blessings. Give a well-deserved tithe. I am agreeable tonight. I am afraid Hafez may be annihilated from the bliss he is experiencing tonight. برو به کار خود ای واعظ، این چه فریاد است. برو به کار خود ای واعظ، این چه فریاد است. مرا فتاده دل از کف تو را چه افتاده است. I haven't practiced reading these in Farsi. به کام تا نرساند مرا لبش چو نی، نصیحت همه عالم به گوش من باد است. میان او که خدا آفریده است از هیچ، دقیقه است که هیچ آفریده نگشاده است. گدای کوی تو از 8 خلد مستغنی است، اسیر بند تو از هر 2 عالم آزاد است. اگرچه مستی عشقم خراب کرد، ولی اساس هستی من زین خراب آباد است. دلا منال ز بیداد عشق یار، که یار تو را نصیب همین کرده است و این داده است. برو فسانه مخوان و فسون مدم حافظ، که از این فسانه و افسون مرا بسی یاد است. Oh preacher, go and mind your own affairs. What is this ruckus all about? I have lost my heart. What is your problem? So long as the beloved hasn't brought his lips to my mouth like the reed, the whole world's advice is like the wind to my ears. Within one whom God created out of nothing, there is a subtle point that no created being has ever opened on their own. The beggar at your court is exempt from the 8 heavens. He who is ensnared by your love is free from both worlds. Although drunkenness ruined my state of love, the foundation of my being is flourishing from that ruin. O heart, do not bemoan the beloved's cruelty and tyranny. The beloved allotted this gift to you, and this pain is from that gift. Hafez, stop weaving fairy tales and singing magical songs, for I've had enough of this kind of trickery and these fairy tales. Hello, did I just close you guys? Oh, there you are. I just shut that window. Okay, the last one that I have put out is Ghazal 29. I'll just read a couple of the Farsi. سر ارادت ما و آستان حضرت دوست که هرچه بر سر ما می رود ارادت اوست. نظیر دوست ندیدم اگرچه از مه و مهر نهادم آینه ها در مقابل رخ دوست. نثار روی تو هر برگ گل که در چمن است فدای قد تو هر سرو بن که بر لب جوست. My bowed head and the threshold of the holy friend. Whatever happens to us is due to his grace. I never saw the likes of the friend, not even by placing mirrors of the sun and the moon to reflect the beloved's face. Every petal of flower in the garden an offering to you. Every cedar tree by the riverbank sacrificed at your feet. Did you comb your perfumed exuding locks that the wind became a perfumer and the earth a nose? I remembered your face and I felt that union with you was possible, just like a good mood ensues after a favorable fortune reading. How could the morning breeze explain the state of our yearning heart? It is tight and twisted like the petals of a new rosebud. I carry the jug of wine on my back in this rend-burning world and nothing else. There have been enough heads broken with stones on this threshold. When a speaking tongue is rendered speechless in attempting to describe his beauty, where is the scope for a pen with a cut-off tongue? Whatever it writes, it is in vain. It is not just in this age that Hafez's heart is burning in the agony of longing. He has been growing wild like the stain-hearted tulip since the beginning of time. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
How are we doing on time?
We have lots more of it, my friend. Carry on.
Thank you so much. It was just
Oh, she's not done.
I know. I just have to say at this point. I just have to say at this point.
Wonderful. Yeah, it is intoxicating.
Oh,
Intoxicating.
it is. It's like magic. It
Like
just,
magic.
yeah, it's like
Yes.
magic.
Fereshteh, it's so good to hear your voice and see your face.
Hello, sweetheart. How are you?
I'm well. I don't want to stop anything. I just had to say that. I haven't seen you in a long time.
I know. Thank you, Terry. Jai Baba.
Mhm. Jai Baba.
All right. Well, here I can go back. Well, let's do this. I have a few things pulled out from Lord Meher. One of them is the story of him meeting that beautiful girl. So Tracey already mentioned that. Let's see.
Fereshteh,
Yes.
where did Hafez draw a circle that he sat inside of? Was that for, and I thought that was for 40 days. Was
Yes.
was that in relation to the girl?
Well, I can read what Baba said. Let's see. Let me get that. When Hafez was 21 years old, while passing by a big mansion, he saw a very beautiful girl on the terrace. He fell in love with her at that instant and decided he would marry her. The girl did not even take notice of the ugly Hafez in the street. Hafez felt helpless and he thought of gaining her by the 40 days penance. So the answer is yes. He succeeded in his attempt of Chelle Neshini, and on the 40th day, the Archangel Gabriel came to him and told him to ask for anything he wished. Gabriel's beauty was so astounding that Hafez forgot the beauty of the girl. He thought that if Gabriel could be so beautiful, how much more would be the beauty of God? So at once replied, I want God. Gabriel then directed him to the perfect master Attar. Hafez served Attar for 40 long years. He broke his head at the feet of Attar, so it is said, but the master still seemingly had no compassion for Hafez. After 40 years of such hell on earth, one day Attar suddenly gave God realization to Hafez. After having the divine experience, Hafez began reciting poems, and that is why his poetry is truth and so beautiful and knowledge-giving. Baba ended by stating, powers have no significance. Hafez says that the one who does not lay life at the feet of a perfect master cannot know God. It is very difficult to become one with God. A master's grace makes it very easy, but to get his grace is as difficult as trying to realize God by one's own efforts. It becomes easy once one becomes a slave at the feet of a perfect master. Ages of restlessness get eased as soon as one drops one's life at his feet. This does not mean cutting off one's head and putting it at the feet of the master. It means literal obedience.
Beautiful.
All right, then I can go to my finder and pick another one. So why don't you guys pick a number between 1 and, let's say 125. Elaine, pick a number, please.
Number 77.
Aha. Let's see.
Or if you know at what number, that one where we believe that was the night he got God realization, anything after that.
Well, you know, I am not sure if these ghazals in the Qudsi version are chronological.
Okay.
I would have to say I'm pretty sure they are not.
Okay.
So that would be difficult to do.
Okay. Then stick with
But-
77.
But here it is. Here's
Okay.
77. If your black hair committed a crime, so be it. If your Hindu beauty mark persecuted us, so be it. Did Baba have a beauty mark?
Nope.
I'm not sure.
Nope.
Not non-visible anyhow.
Never.
Mehru did say once that having read a full description of Muhammad's body, that every beauty mark and mole was identical on Baba's body, but she didn't
Wow.
tell us where they were.
All right. If the spark of love burned your woolen cloak, let it. If King Kamran inflicted treachery upon a beggar, so be it. If a heart is burdened from the coquettishness of a lover, so be it. If there is drama between a lover and a beloved, so be it. On the inner path, there is no room for hurt feelings. Bring the wine instead. If you see any hatred, make it disappear with your own sweetness instead. In lovemaking, you need forbearance, O heart, stay strong. If there is gloom, bear it, and if a mistake, forgive it. The gossipers caused much gloom and suffering. However, if there is blasphemy among the gathered, so be it. O preacher, don't find fault with those who recite Hafez. He has left the Sufi house. Why bind a free foot? If it goes someplace, let it.
Yes.
Good one.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mm.
How about number 98?
Okay. 98. This one also appears in Qudsi only. And it's a little peculiar, but we'll find out. One graced with divine nazar, who goes in search of happiness, ends up in the corner of the tavern and the house of devotion. The Salik of the path discovered the veiled secrets of the unseen world through the cup of drinkers in the seen world. Come and hear the real knowledge from my discourse. It is through divine grace that happiness is obtained. Do not seek anything but freedom from convention, from my innate fortune. This transaction was sealed with the star of my birth. Since this morning, you seem to have risen differently. Was the work of the wine too much for you last night? Do you think the Christ-like healer cures through miracles? Why then is my tiresome work not appreciated? 1,000 thanks that Hafez left the way to the tavern last night and went to the corner of obedience and prayer. And that's why this last line, I'm almost thinking it should be reversed. 1,000 thanks that Hafez left the corner of obedience and prayer and went to the tavern last night. So who knows what shenanigans they have made with some of these poems.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll take poetic license and reverse the order, because then it makes sense.
Mm.
All right, Tilly, your turn to pick a number.
Before I do that, how do you spell the name of the person who you're basing this on? Your Qudsi?
The version, you mean? The
Yeah, the
version?
version, yeah.
It's spelled Qodsi. I'll show you the book.
Qudsi.
The Qudsi Divan.
Has that been translated into English?
It's being translated into English by yours truly. I don't know.
You're gonna
I
do
don't
all
know
the
who-
poems in there?
Huh?
Are you hoping to do all of the poems in there?
That's my goal.
Awesome.
Oh,
calling.
amazing. Yay.
Yay.
Yes, 130 reviewed and done, and maybe another 20 or 30 done, but need review. And there's 600 in the book, so I've got my work cut out.
Yes, you do.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not a bad job.
No,
You can get it.
I can't imagine at the end of your day what shape your mind must be in.
right?
It's, oh, it's incredible. And, you know, that I'm just constantly, you know, checking the words and the meanings, and there's multiple meanings, and you have to extract the right one. And with the help of Baba and Hafez, hopefully, I
Mhm.
can get a whiff. It's impossible to translate Hafez. That being said, Baba said that,
Yeah.
to just bring a whiff of it. And I started doing it because I wanted to understand Hafez. And because English is now my really main language, I understand it better when I translate it to English. So it helps me. I hope it helps others. Okay, Telly, tell a number.
47.
47. When God painted your heart-stealing face and brows, he tied my salvation to their flirtatious play. Time brought 1,000 cypresses to wait on the dirt road of the path, while it adorned your silken garment with golden threads. I think he's alluding to Maya, the silken garment. The morning robbed the peace of heart from the nightingale and me, when it tied both of our hearts to the music of pining for you.
Hmm.
The morning breeze opened the heart of the bud and 100 knots in my affairs, while it tied my heart to the path of longing for you. The passage of time made me content with being tied to you. But what is the use, since it tied the other end of the string to your pleasure? Do not tie a knot in my poor heart like the pouch of a musk deer. It already has a pact with your not opening tresses. You were to be in another life, O time of union. Do not fault my heart for fastening hope to your loyalty. Someday, the bud of each heart will open from your breeze for those who tie their hearts to the longing for your presence. I said, to flee your tyranny, I will leave this town. He laughed and said, go ahead, Hafez. Who is binding your foot?
Oh,
There is a very subtle humor in Hafez, actually.
Yeah, I'd like to hear the whole one again. I have a little question though.
Sure.
About that line, not releasing. Was that word not as in the knot of a rope or the knot of the tresses?
The knot of a rope. Yeah.
Okay, can you read that line again? Or maybe read the whole thing again?
Sure. When God painted your heart-stealing face and brows, he tied my salvation to their flirtatious play. I'm going to change that right now. There. Time brought 1,000 cypresses to wait on the dirt road of the path, while it adorned your silken garment with golden threads. The morning robbed the peace of heart from the nightingale and me, when it tied both of our hearts to the music of pining for you. The morning breeze opened the heart of the bud and 100 knots in my affair, while it tied my heart to the path of longing for you. The passage of time made me content with being tied to you, but what is the use, since it tied the other end of the string to your pleasure. Do not tie a knot in my poor heart like the pouch of a musk deer. It already has a pact with your not opening tresses. You were to be in another life, O time of union. Do not fault my heart for fastening hope to your loyalty. Someday the bud of each heart will open from your breeze for those who tie their hearts to the longing for your presence. I said, to flee your tyranny, I will leave this town. He laughed and said, go ahead, Hafez, who is binding your foot?
Wow. Mm.
It's a lot of Hafez
Mhm.
for one sitting.
But it's not too much, Hafez. Fereshteh, who are some of your favorite translators of Hafez into English?
I do not read anybody else's translations.
Hmm. Hmm.
I read a few just to get a sense of what it was about and whether they had, you know, I mean, really, I couldn't bear it.
Mm.
I'm sure there are some out there. I just haven't, I don't go there because I want every word to be, you know, from the depth of my own soul. And I'm sure I got a lot of things wrong, but what the hey. It's my offering to Baba.
And
And-
in terms of books that you have read about Hafez's life in English, have you?
I have not.
You haven't read any of those? Yeah. I wanted to ask you which one was your
No,
favorite.
only Hafez's poetry interests me. I'm not a scholar of Hafez.
Yeah.
And, you know, there are some lots of scholarly translations or descriptions or stories or whatever. I have only focused on his poems and
Yeah.
translating them.
Yeah. And do you know how the translator that you're currently reading, is it pronounced Quodsi?
Qudsi.
Hodsi.
Qudsi.
Oh, Odsi. Thank you. Do you know anything about the lineage of, you know, from when Hafez died to how it came down? Like, why do we hear that there are 500, but really there's 600, and some of them have been edited? Do we know anything about that lineage?
Yeah, this book, which is the Qudsi, also cites all the other common, gosh, it's going to be hard for you guys to see. Maybe this camera. No. There's let's say 5 very popular versions out there in the marketplace. One by Ghaznavi, one by Khanluri, one by Saye, one by Nesari, and the Qudsi. So what he's done is he has put every line and the order of every line that he has in his version compared to the others. And oftentimes you'll see a 0 under one line where that line was completely eliminated in the other versions or in some versions. Also, the order of the lines sometimes are different. And I just have the most confidence in this version. Like I said, you know, we've validated over and over that Baba must have translated from an old version that was this. And this is probably the closest to the oldest version that exists.
And so Rainey just typed up on the chat that Quodzi is the editor. That's right, that he said that he's taking all these different translations and he's presenting them and then trying to let people.
Well,
sort
when
of
you
take-
say translations, I don't know what you mean. You mean the versions of Hafez in Farsi. These are not translations. These are the versions in Farsi. This book is all in Persian. So he has,
Well, if they're different versions, then would those not somehow be translations by somebody that would have somehow then interpreted them on some level? I mean, if there's 5 different versions of the same poem, what word do you use to describe that version? If it's not a translation, how would you call it?
it's a gathering or a particular version, I guess.
Okay. And so Odzi is the editor of that book, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
and are the poems that were, I guess, temporarily taken out of circulation but are now back in circulation, can you say something about what made them controversial?
yes, the lines that were eliminated in the common popular versions are some of them allude to the secrets of the inner path. Some of them are direct insults to the Sharia, and some of them are just too deep and too direct of a secret revealed on the path that they didn't want that in the book. I mean, it varies all over the place. So, basically the popular non-Sufi interpretation of Hafez is he's talking about wine and women and not the divine wine of love and the beloved being the divine beloved.
Are there actually Iranian people that believe he's talking about wine and women?
More and more, not so. I think Iran, even in Iran, I see a lot of discussions on various boards that, the more traditional interpretations are being gearing more toward the Sufi views. Also, he does talk about Sharia being, you got to step away from it and go to the divine, inner journey. And the mullahs aren't going to go for that. They're all about Sharia. So, but there are those who understand it more deeply and interpret it. A lot of people, I've heard that, they think he wrote a lot of these ghazals in admiration of his contemporary King Shoja. And that's truly false. Baba would have not picked Hafez as the divine poet that he is by, of course, human love can be transformed into divine love as well. Happened to Hafez himself.
Fereshteh,
Yes.
is there any chance that you would put your translations out in like installments so that they could be more readily enjoyed and appreciated rather than waiting for a whole volume of translations? You know what I mean?
I know what you mean. I need a partner to help me get it out there. I have never published anything, of course, and it's poetry form, and I don't know about rights for, if I wanted to print the Farsi from this Qudsi version, I might have to get permission, things like that. So if you want to volunteer to be my partner. Help me get it out there.
I would like to help you get it out there. Let's talk about it. I'm serious. I'd like to help you get it out there.
Yeah. I hope you're not recording this part.
Oh, why?
Should we stop recording?
No, you don't have to. We can edit it out.
Yeah. Hmm. You already have witnesses, my dear.
Yeah.
It's done.
So, you know, part of it is obviously it's just me, one person, doing these translations, and a lot of people might have other ideas and other interpretations of Hafez, and they might be just as valid or more valid than mine. But what the hey, you can't know it all, and you know it can't be perfect. But that's part of my hesitation, is that, oh my God. Do I really dare go out there and say these are Hafez translations?
Fereshteh, I've got this sense that what you're doing is not only translating, but maybe making a synthesis of the different pieces of information you're finding in your source.
Yes.
Because,
Yes, of course.
yeah.
And also, you know, obviously there's intuition that comes in play, and Baba's teachings definitely come into play as to helps me decipher what the meaning might be. Plus a sense, a poetic sense, to try and render it in such a way that it's pleasing, and not just a literal dry translation. So I do my best to give it some. Well, it just happens. I don't know. It just flows.
Well, there should be you as the translator. There should be some of you there, a lot of you there, because I think that's translation itself is an art form, and you're the artist here.
Thank
So
you.
should show.
Yeah, sometimes I feel that way, just finding the right English word, you know. There may be many different words I can pick from, but I pick the one that's gonna work with the music of the line, or you know, a little more poetic.
It's so difficult. I just
Very
really
difficult.
admire
Yeah,
your effort.
yeah,
Thank you.
very much so. Yeah.
Jai Baba.
I think your
appreciate it.
translations come across as having a deep amount of heart and presence to them. And they're very understandable. There are several English translations of Hafez that I've read that I really literally could not figure out what they were saying. And that's so tricky in poetry, you know. If you lose your audience with 2 or 3 words, you've kind of lost them for the whole rest of the poem. And you somehow manage to make that all very understandable, which I think is really quite a gift.
Thank you. I
Okay.
figured I had to
My turn
understand
to
it.
pick a
So
number. Fereshteh,
what, darling?
is it my turn to pick a number?
Yes, well, it's 8 o'clock, but if it's
Oh.
okay to run a little over.
Yeah, it's okay. If anybody
All
has
right.
to leave, please feel free to.
Oh, twist our arm. Please.
Right, twist our arms.
Your number, Rainy dear.
149.
Oh, she's gone past my limit here of, oh, well, 149 is there. Let's see if it's been translated. It has been translated. Wow. Because what I did is I went from, you know, number 1, but periodically I'll just open it and pick something, or somebody will ask me to open it and then I'll translate it. So this happens to be one. Ghazal 149. I am afraid the tears of my heart's sorrow will tear open the veil of my secret and expose it to the world. They say stone turns into ruby through patience. Yes, it does. but only with the help of the blood of suffering. I am on my way to the tavern, wailing and demanding justice. Perhaps there I will find refuge from the grips of this pain. I have sent forth arrows of prayer from all directions, that perhaps one of them may succeed and reach the target of my beloved's heart. O Spirit, recount my story to the beloved, but don't do it in such a way that the breeze might hear. Through the alchemy of your love, my face has turned into gold. Yes, it is only due to your grace that dirt can turn into gold. I am astonished to see the pride of the guard, the beloved's watchman. O God, let not a beggar reach fame and high regard. It takes many finer traits than just outward pizzazz to make way into the hearts of the lovers of God. It isn't through self-assertion and high posturing that union is obtained. Many heads need to be sacrificed at the threshold of the Lord. Hafez, since you hold in your hand the beloved's musk-perfumed hair, be silent so you don't alert the morning breeze. So the morning breeze tends to spread it everywhere, you know, and he wants it to be just his.
He wants to keep his secret, and yet he keeps yelling it.
Yes, that's right.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Fereshteh,
Yes.
so Baba translated some Hafez, right?
Mhm. Yes, a lot of Hafez.
A lot of Hafez. So how do you connect with, relate to how he translated Hafez, and how you would, those very same things, do you have a difference in finding it, that you would translate it differently, or is there a something there that's helpful?
Well, I only come across what Ward Park sends me in Baba's, you know, when he's doing work with Baba's words and he runs across a Hafez Ghazal, he'll send it to me and we'll do the transliteration and the translation and so forth. And invariably, then I'll get, you know, that could be a reason why I will go. He'll ask me to go and find the page number in Qudsi and the Ghazal line number and so forth. And that will inspire me to translate the whole Ghazal rather than just that one line. So Baba and I very much see eye to eye, heart to heart about, you know, and I know he helps me when I'm doing the work. So without him, I couldn't have done this. No way, no way. So yeah, there might be just wording differences, but the meaning is there of the ones that, you know, he did and I have done again.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have a whole lot of them that I keep track of in my computer, of the ones that, I mean, several that I read today, there were words, Baba's words in there. He quoted those lines, not verbatim, because, you know, I'm not going to put Baba's translation in mine saying it's mine. That would be what's the word?
Plagiarizing.
Yes, plagiarism of the Lord, but of course he forgives. But yeah. Hey, Baba.
Did you did you say a little bit more about, you know, coming to Baba and in translating Hafez, how those have come together for you?
Yes, like I said at the beginning, I was kind of longing to reconnect with my own roots. And I was going to Iran for a trip to visit my parents. And then I was also going to go to India, 2 trips there, 3-hour flight from Tehran to Mehrabad or to Bombay. So before I left, my husband said, you know, this was 20 years ago, right? Please read the ghazal on Hafez's tomb and tell me, and write it down and tell me which ghazal he wrote on his, I don't know why he asked. Jim is not a Hafez person, you know, but he asked me this question. So I said, okay. And before leaving, I had actually translated 2 ghazals of Hafez myself, just you know, after my conversations with Daniel and just my interest in the fact that Baba loved Hafez, I decided to translate a couple just to see how it goes. So I got to India. I mean, I got to Shiraz at Hafez's tomb, and I was reading. I remember Jim's request, and I was reading the ghazal that was on his tomb, and it happened to be one of the 2 that I had translated.
Mhm.
And then I went to India, and it was Arnavaz's cremation, and you know, she had passed, and I happened to be fortunate enough to be there. And during the services in Mandali Hall, someone got up and read a ghazal of Hafez, and it was the second one that I had translated already.
Mm.
And that's when Baba's finger was on my head saying, you know, to my heart saying, you've done well, those 2, now keep going.
Wonderful story.
Could you read the one on his tomb? Is it hard for you to find?
That would be impossible. I have totally forgotten which one it is.
Yeah.
Which is a shame. I need to research that, and next time I talk to you, I'll hopefully will find out.
I'm
Yeah,
sure
right.
that you can, you know, Google images of Hafez's tomb, and so many
Right.
beautiful images come up. I'm sure you could just find an image
Yeah.
of it and it would spark your remembrance.
Yeah, just get
Oh,
a picture.
cool. That's a good idea.
There must be many pictures of that
Yeah.
tomb.
The
Yeah.
actual,
Yes.
you know,
yeah,
usually we see the beautiful, you know,
the cupola.
structure over
Yeah.
Mhm.
over the tomb, but not the
Mhm.
writing on the tomb. But I'm
Mhm.
sure somebody's got a picture of it.
Mhm.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
Google it up. Let's, yeah.
Let's do it now.
Okay, you keep talking, I'll Google.
So funny. Any other
Do you want to tell the story about how Baba came to set up a trust for the tomb of Hafez?
Oh, that I don't know the details about, but I know that he did do that. Here it is. I see a photo of it.
Oh, good.
It's
It's so
hard to
beautiful.
it's hard to read though.
You probably just need a few words to know the rest of it.
Yeah. Maybe there's a better photo. Do you know the story, Tracey?
I probably know the story you know, which is that he heard that the tomb of Hafez was in disrepair. I'm going to just put this image up so people who haven't seen it can see some of these beautiful images because they're just so fantastic. And so beautiful. And he was just so upset that that had happened that he set up a trust for there to be roses and cedar trees. And it's a perpetual trust. So it will go on into perpetuity, that it would be a shrine, a proper shrine. And that's all I know about it. but it's just so stunning.
Mm.
Who did you say raised money for?
Baba.
Baba did?
Mhm.
Oh
Mm.
my God.
Mm.
Okay, on the slab, 2 lyrics by Hafez were inscribed in Nastaliq. Mazdای وصل تو چون برخیزم تایر خود برخیزم. Yeah, I'm gonna have to find it. Now I know the 2 lines of it.
They're just so stunning.
Mm.
Beautiful.
You know, I love the airiness of it. I just wish that Baba Samadhi could be left as it is on the hill, like this shrine, you know, and not have a superstructure over it and around it. I'm not happy with that concept at all.
Me too.
And
Why are they doing that?
so that they want it to last in perpetuity for thousands of years, you know. The weather in India is pretty rough. You know, it's this hard blowing wind that is sandblasting all the time. And then you have monsoon season. It's like, you know, you have the worst one side and the worst the other. And the water does more damage than anything. And so they want to put a structure on top of it so it won't get directly assaulted by the extremes of the weather in the Deccan Plateau.
Is it also in preparation for many more pilgrims going there someday?
Yes, they want to have control because in their minds they're seeing, you know, the Kaaba, and they don't want that to happen.
What's that mean?
The shrine, Mecca, the way the millions of people, you know, going circles around the Kaaba, and literally, you know, there's, you know, 100,000 people at one time, and so I think they want to manage some sort of traffic control in advance if they can. And I can understand that, you know, they're thinking on all those subjects, but it's just heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And also, though, Baba did instruct that there be a superstructure.
Yeah.
He did.
Yeah. I just don't
I
want it
think-
to get heavy and ugly and closed in, and somehow if there's a way to keep it open and fresh somehow.
Right.
The simplicity of it is just so exquisite as it is.
Mhm.
Because of Elvis. He saw it.
Because of Elvis.
Yeah.
No. Because of all of this that she said.
And maybe to keep the integrity of the architecture, which is so beautiful
Yes, and simple.
and simple and kind of lofty in its
Yeah.
design. Yeah.
When is this planned for?
Well, they already did that other thing.
No, they're working on different designs. I don't think they could have settled on a design. I don't know. Many people have contributed, many architects and designers have contributed their ideas, and some of them are pretty awful. Some of the ones I've seen are pretty awful. But that's just my taste, you know, so anyway.
So are we going to have any more poetry?
Yeah. Do you want to do one more, Fereshteh, to close us out?
Sure, one more to close us out.
Maybe your favorite.
Diana, I don't know what my favorite is because they're all in my computer by Ghazal number.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Diana, you want to give me a number?
Okay, have you read number 17?
I was gonna say,
No, but it's a good one because Jeff often picks that one. 17. I love everybody likes the number 7.
I wonder why.
We're all headed that way.
Jay Baba.
Morning has broken. The spring clouds have stretched out their tents in the skies. Oh, friends, bring out the morning wine and drink up. Dew is continually dripping on the face of the tulip. Oh, friends, hurry and drink from the morning cup. The scent of paradise is wafting in from the grasslands. Waste no time and drink continually from the morning wine. Now that the king has set up his golden chaise in the garden, go there and seek the fiery ruby cup of his wine. They have closed the door of the wine shop. O opener of doors, open up the door of the tavern once more. It is astonishing that in this special season, they should close the tavern door in such haste. This one came out when Jeff asked me to read it. Meher Center had closed, so it was right on.
Right.
Drink wine like a rogue, O priest. Fear God, O men of high understanding. If you want a clue to finding the water of life, seek wine at the sound of the tambour. If you seek eternal life like Iskandar, seek and find the ruby red lips of the beloved. O Hafez, do not be dismayed as the witness of fortunes will eventually lift the mask from his face. Now, Iskandar, for those who may not know, he was Alexander the Great. And morning wine, of course, being the purest wine, the early morning is when we have, Baba said, the veil is thin between this world and the next. So meditating and remembering God in the morning is best. And there was a quote there, my note says, oh, this must have been a quote from the Quran. Drink wine like a rogue, O priest. Fear God, O men of this part. Fear God, O men of high understanding is a quote from the Quran, because you know the Quran talks a lot about fearing God. And that brings us to an end, my dear friends. Thank you for being here and listening to my babblings.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Dear
much,
Baba.
Fereshteh.
My pleasure.
It's been a delight.
Thanks, Tracey.
It has.
I'm taking notes. Thank you so much, Fereshteh. What a delight. I think we should do another one of these. I think one hour is not enough. So maybe we can entice you to come and share again.
Sure.
It's just been so fantastic.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Jai
Thank
Baba.
you.
Wonderful
Thank you for
seeing you.
Yeah.
We will
Wonderful
keep
seeing
the
you,
tavern
Fereshteh.
open.
Jai
Yay.
Baba.
Jai Baba.